Good evening and welcome to the After Hours Show with the Autonomous Collective. I'm Joe in Norway. I'm joined by Ann Lee, retired college professor and community member at the Daily Coast. She's a member of the National Council of Independent Scholars and is a contributor to the book, The Political Economy of Art, Making the Nation of Culture. Hey, Ann.
Hey, Joe. How's it going?
Oh, I hope I didn't dox myself earlier. I had a little kerfuffle with the Zoom business here. Ugh,
Oh,
gotta sort this shit out. We gotta do better next week.
we'll try. Good luck with that.
Oh, I don't have any video. There we go.
You were
How's that?
showing us your new keyboard.
Oh yeah, my new my I may completed my travel lethal weapon case. Got my razor and 40% keyboard.
Cool. What's for supper?
Yeah. What was that?
What's for supper tonight?
Oh, yeah. Dessert, actually. As long as I don't fall over. I'm getting a little tired here. I hope I don't put myself to sleep with this dish.
Don't worry, I'll put you to sleep with my yammering.
Oh boy. I've been wanting to make this ever since I tried it in Turkey. Turkey. Irmek halvesi or semolina halva. It's a Turkish dessert that I would describe as a porridge suspension.
Hmm.
It's it can be heavy and overly sweet and overcooked, but when it's done well, it can be just as almost as fluffy as a cake, light cake. You typically use coarse semolina, which I haven't been able to get a hold of, but I did get some medium semolina. Cream of wheat, maybe in the American context. It's a super simple dish. So my my inability to enjoy baking, this dish really appeals to because you can do everything on the stovetop. And essentially, if you have leftover semolina porridge, you essentially have made it.
Hmm.
So what we do is we take 200 grams of semolina, coarse preferably, 200 grams of water, 200 grams of milk, which we're just using water as well, and 200 grams of sugar, which I've reduced to 100 since it's sweet enough. I think that's plenty. And maybe you basically make a simple sugar first with um, zest of lemon, if you like. We're going to use a whole load of oil, so some butter or margarine or olive oil. So what we're going to do is toast the semolina until it becomes brown, toasted brown. Slowly toast it. The other part about this recipe, it's gonna test my patience. So I'm very impatient with the cooking. So hopefully we do not burn it. So it's essentially like making caramelized onions. You're making kind of toasted semolina to get the rich, toasty flavor. After it's mostly done, we're going to toss in some pine nuts. And then we put in our simple sugar water and then get out all of the lumps and keep cooking it until it absorbs the water and dries to a point where it's cooked through. And I'll also be adding some currants in there to give it a little variety along with the pine nuts. So we're kind of making a Turkish style spotted dick. After we're done, we're going to put it into a form of some kind. I'm not sure what yet, but we'll see. And then we're going to put some ground pistachios over to garnish it. In terms of spices, you can use cinnamon, cardamom, muscat, or nutmeg, uh, allspice maybe, clove. Typical, it's cinnamon or cardamom. So that's about that. It's going to take me some time, so
Okay.
feel free to take your leisure time.
Well, I even okay. Well, we can, I guess, start now. I've
Uh,
did a little preparation, but you all set to go?
yep, kick
Okay,
it off.
nice. I'm going to assume that Norwegian butter tastes so much better than other butters.
I'm back on the margarine. I didn't quite get to the shops. We're still out in the middle of nowhere. Not exactly snowed in, but didn't make it. So I've got some baking margarine. I got some a little bit of regular oil and some vegan butter. So I'll be using those.
Huh. Okie doke.
But yeah, we do have nice butter, especially up in Røros. Uh, Farmer community up there has some of the best butter.
Okay. The Dow dropped by nearly 700 points today, or 1.6%, while the S&P 500, Standard and Poor, fell by 1.5%. The the Nasdaq index was lower by 1.6% because there's a lot of sell-offs. Because the jobs report came out today, the economy added 256,000 jobs in December, and which outpaced expectations of about 153,000 jobs. So the economy is in good shape. Capitalists are unhappy for a variety of reasons. So the economy is actually in fairly good shape, and Trump has been given a decent economy that he can't whine about. In other
They're
news,
pissed they haven't been able to fire enough people.
oh, well, that's still coming. There have been recent reports about how they're going to try and manage this. It's sort of a weird austerity program. I think what they'll do is probably golden. They'll probably figure out some way of doing a federal golden parachute or something. So they'll work around it
Mm.
in some way. Aside from inserting the 4,000 or whatever the hell it is, Trumpists in various places. Although I have an idea about certain other ways, and unfortunately, it's going to be to suggest that there's probably a typically Republican workaround for how to deal with what will become, I guess, the Trump doctrine. Anyway, in other news, the Pizzagate gunman. If
Oh,
you'll recall,
yes.
the guy who was so weirdly paranoid that he thought the rumors, the gossip, disinformation about Hillary Clinton and the purported pedophile ring in the Comet pizza parlor in D.C. he went up there, uh, set off a couple of rounds, shot into the ceiling or something, and got arrested, needless to say, because he was hunting around for the sub basement or the basement where all of this nefarious activity was going on. Unfortunately, that particular pizza parlor has no basement, so it kind of a futile gesture of a variety of sorts. But he became very famous. Anyway, he got killed last night or night before last. He was riding with some people in a car. They got pulled over by the cops, and he decided he would just go out in a blaze of glory, I guess, or something. He was sufficiently weird enough. He pulled out he wasn't even driving. He gets out, uh, pulls a gun on the cops. Cops decide, well, please put your gun down, and he doesn't comply, and then they kill him. So, rest in Pizzagate, poor devil. The other thing that seems to be important just for today, and I have other weird items to share in the week review, um, is Joe Biden decided to extend for another 18 months the temporary status of a variety of migrants, Venezuela. They're temporary workers, and they're the same people who Trump decided were eating pets in, Springfield, etc. Um, the same types of people. It's the same type of temporary worker program or permit that lasts for 18 months. It is, of course, problematic for all of its own reasons, but I assume that there's going to be issues in terms of the impending migrant deportations, etc., the mass deportations anticipated under Trump. Anyway, it's about 800,000 people. I didn't realize it was going to be a fair number of people, mainly Venezuelans and Salvadorans. So that's a kind of interesting population. And I was just thinking that the GOP loves doing sort of creative workarounds. If you will remember Iran-Contra, in other words, let's see, how did it go? You sell stuff and use the proceeds to support some other weird thing that you wanted to do, and never the twain shall meet. Well, it appears to me that, and I am reminded that in Trump's first term, in the first year of his first term, he proposed invading Venezuela. That's probably going to come up again for X number of reasons, but it would just seem to me that this can serve a lot of different purposes. And considering there is certainly a number of countries that won't even let Trump in, considering he's a felon. Those of you who haven't heard, Trump is now a convicted felon, although he has appeal capabilities, and who knows how that's going to work out. So it could still ultimately get to the Supreme Court on the issue of appealing the charge, as opposed to simply trying to delay the process, which Trump lost that particular battle. And so today, he is what he was given or was sentenced to was an unconditional discharge. Now, I also think that farting is an unconditional discharge, so I think I can remember that flatulence is also an unconditional discharge. Also, in that same context, convicted felons have travel sanctions, and so they're on that particular score. And I'll get back to those Venezuelans and Salvadorans in a second, but it just seems to me this is part of the general Trumpian imperial policy that's coming up, and that is that a variety of places will not allow convicted felons to enter their country. And let me read off all the ones at the front end. There are a variety more that that actually also deny entry to felons, but and some of them are interesting. Ireland, Mexico. You won't be able to go to Mexico. You won't be able to go to places we don't normally think of him going, like Peru or the Philippines or South Korea, Turkey, Ukraine. But the places that definitely don't allow convicted felons are Argentina, Australia, Canada, China, Cuba, India, Iran, Israel, Japan, Kenya, Macau, New Zealand, South Africa, Taiwan, the United Kingdom, and of course the United States, which maybe we can just sort of let him leave for somewhere and not let him back in, but that's a whole nother story. So yes, unconditional discharge is our Trump. On the issue of trying to do a Bay of Pigs 2.0, I think that the Republicans should think that they could offer the Venezuelans and Salvadorans citizenship if they become a mercenary army to take back their countries. So they could have multiple coups or an invasion. For example, they could have a mercenary army try and help out the coup that failed during the first Trump term. That I think what's his name, Guaido, is still out there ready to go. They've had a couple of other people they wanted to put in power, but I think Juan Guaido is a man without a portfolio. Anyway, so that's what I think is going to happen. The Bay of Pigs 2.0 can come back and sort of fit all the Republican fantasies about the Monroe Doctrine.
You're making me nervous. Has traffic been busy at the School of the Americas down south there?
Could be. I'm wondering where all the extra money will come, because we're going to make a lot of profit from the pollution congestion tax or toll in Manhattan. That's actually an interesting. That thing's going to make a lot of money at $9 a pop.
I heard recently today that the failure rate for those they're taking automatic license plate readers. The
yes.
software fails by about one in 10 plates.
This is going to be good. But the ultimate result, of course, is there's going to be more surveillance. That is, in terms of license plate readers and stuff. Just makes you more paranoid. Some of us just forget, to pay all of our bills or whatever. The plate readers are out there. Pretty much every car in my particular state, every police car has a plate reader. So anyway.
Oh, FYI to the group, I posted a podcast on this very subject today to the Discord channel. If you go under podcast covers.
We will read that with great interest. Needless to say, the other big story, of course, are the fires in LA. Highly problematic. Looters, plenty of looters. I think they've arrested 20 so far. It's another opportunity for cops to be out there. There was a collision between a drone that was in a no-fly zone, and it ran into one of those super scoopers, that is the amphibious plane that picks up water from the ocean and then drops it on fires. Got hit one of those drones, and they're hunting the person down who owns whatever owns that drone. And this is probably a good example of the sort of current dilemma about FAA control. The rules are sort of in place, but no one's starting to enforce it. And this is a good opportunity to start enforcing drone controls, which is a wide open area in America at the present moment. And of course, recalling, of course, that people with drones made people in New Jersey paranoid, and then people on the ground are not so smart. So every airplane in the air was a drone. So that's pretty stupid. But then again, we're Americans. We do that. On other issues, Danish distraction is occurring. Greenland, right? the threat that Trump made only a couple of days ago that he didn't exclude the idea that there could be a military action to take Greenland. I don't think that's going to go over real well. It violates a variety of things, needless to say. But he did send his son and a bunch of other little right-wing troll types to Greenland. They recruited a bunch of folks who are, I guess, homeless or something, and offered them a meal if they would say nice things about Trump. So there's that. I would not give that amplify any of that particular activity, but Trump is really into that. He even promoted it on Truth Social. So that's pretty weird. Uh, just trying to, and the other way that he framed the threat. The first threat he presented was tariff restrictions on Denmark. Well, I don't know. I guess it'll make certain things from Denmark more expensive here, but I don't think there's a lot of things that tariff controls are going to force Denmark to do any damn thing. And in fact, Denmark has been pretty explicit about resisting that they don't have any right in some ways to sell off their the Greenland autonomous zone, which is what Greenland is in terms of Denmark. But Trump is just distracting us, of course, from the fact that he is a convicted felon with his unconditional discharge, and so.
Do you think Elon has been giving him tips on trolling? It
Um,
seems so ridiculous, almost a Elon-like troll, these things.
oh yeah, I assume they have odd conversations about it. Elon, of course, is trying to influence European policies. He's trying to interfere with or affect the German elections that are coming up, and with his support of the AfD, which is ostensibly a neo-Nazi party. It's a nationalist party, let's just put it that way, an anti-immigrant party, etc. So it resembles a Republican Party in the U.S. in not so many ways. Well, maybe in more ways than we believe. So there's that going on. Musk, on the same issue, is trying to support some sort of reform party, but he got into a fight with Farage, so that's weird. That was weird as well.
Oh, and I
And
don't
then
know if they're as extreme as the Republicans. They at least don't want to get rid of universal health care over there.
oh, indeed, yes, that's true. That's true. They just want to, they hate the Tories and and Labor, and Labor, of course, is uh, uh, Musk has made it an explicit goal to kick Starmer out of power as the prime minister. So that's interesting. This is another example of the larger issue for Musk that Musk represents, and that is the tech, let's see, broligarchy is what it's called. Broligarchy. That's
Oligarchs.
they're tech bros and the oligarchs, and they're if you combine them all, considering Thiel and all those other folks, they have, in the case of Greenland, a neo-colonial mindset, as some people refer to it, which is, I think, that's kind of what it is. It's neo-colonial. It is clearly a mindset, and they're certainly out there trying to do that. Thiel himself is part of a crowd that would love to create their own damn country with nothing but tech bros, I suppose. And let's see, the kleptocracy continues. The decision today. Trump is trying to fundraise off of his conviction, which is so. This is strange. I mean, you try and imagine Nixon trying to fundraise off of, it's so weird. But then again, you have to be sort of old enough to appreciate that. Needless to say, the kleptocracy continues in a variety of ways. Let's see. There was a funeral for Jimmy Carter, and so the Yeah, it's been a while since at least I've seen a televised state funeral, and that was it's pretty interesting to see, and moving in its own way, and of course the side issues are even more amusing. There's an image of Melania Trump holding her program upside down. I don't know what that was, why she was doing that, but it was sort of interesting to that somebody pointed that out on the internet. Trump got seated next to Obama, so poor Obama had to listen to Trumpian dirty jokes, which did make Barack chuckle a little. Apparently, other snotty comments may have been exchanged. Apparently, G.W. Bush's wife made some sort of joke that made Kamala laugh. So I'd love to know what that's about. Um, so
I see.
let's it was a typical it was in the National Cathedral. It's an Episcopalian service. It had all the usual constructions of a funeral, what Americans do as state funerals, which is much more secular, despite the fact that it is it's an Anglican or Episcopalian, and so that got done. um they had the funeral service, and took uh, Jimmy Carter to Plains, Georgia for burial next to Rosalind. So that happened. Um, and Trump was there. I don't know why he was. I mean, he's there obviously because he felt somewhat obligated, and people would make a stink if he didn't. But the only thing important about Trump is that lying in state will come easiest for Don. So there's that. Um, let's see. I would say that it's probably easier to seize the moon than Denmark, or seizing Greenland, getting Denmark to cough up Greenland. I mentioned last week, I think, that there's still a lost H bomb somewhere in Greenland from a long time ago. So there's a loose H bomb somewhere sitting in
Oh, I'm
Greenland.
sure it's securely set in the ice by now. It'll be fine.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure they'll be able to find it eventually. So, considering a global warming climate crisis. Anyway, Trump did a press conference that revealed, he is really quite nuts. And particularly when he has to do these things where people actually ask him questions, he's really out there. And when he's not yammering, what people have referred to as a kind of aphasia. Not that I'm can estimate that, but he's complaining about water pressure, electric heaters making people itch. He did in that presser try to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Continued his usual trope about windmills drive whales crazy. They're not windmills, but wind turbines. But anyway, he was asked about whether he was planning to pardon those who are charged with violent offenses, and he said, "We're looking into it." And then right after that, I mean, right in the same breath, he went on to demand that we have to find out about Hezbollah and their role in the January 6th insurrection, right? I mean, obviously, he had confabulated January 6th insurrection with the October 7th or 6th attack in Gaza. So you can see that his brain is not working quite so well. It is perhaps some people identified it as an aphasia related to is a fluent aphasia. I think Keith Overman referred to it as that, a fluent aphasia. That is, it happens in the Wernicke's area in the brain. It's sensory. It's a temporal lobe defect. This means that speech is normal and excessive, but makes little sense, which is perfectly Trump. That is, it's wacky word salad. So that's kind of and the signs are unmistakable. That is aphasia, perseveration, echolalia, tangentiality, paraphasia, logorrhea, circumlocution, anomia, and confabulation. And Trump's speech patterns strongly mirror these symptoms. Another thing that happened this week was
Oh,
Zuckerberg announcing the end of Meta fact checks. I think it's essentially because he wanted to fire the subcontractors he uses to do fact checking in Facebook. Uh, It'll save him money because he was wearing in his little announcement of the end of Meta fact checks. Uh, I can't even imagine what a nearly $1 million watch looks like, but it looks like any other kind of chronometer type watch. But it's a Grubel 4C handmade one. Not that any of us care, but it's pretty ostentatious to wear one when he says he's going to cut back all kinds of crap. On the other hand, and because they want to do things to accommodate Trump, they reversed a whole bunch of LBGTQ plus policies, including um, eliminating the provision of tampons in male bathrooms. The men's bathrooms will in Facebook or Meta will not have tampons. The douches will still be in there, but anyway. So much for my writing jokes. Uh,
oh,
that
let
was
me interrupt
that was
you
my
for a
shot
moment.
at a Feldo type joke. Anyway, carry on. Yes.
So I've toasted the semolina and the pine nuts, and the next step is the dangerous part. Since we've got hot oil and dry flour here, and boiled water, sugar water, we're
Mm.
going to have a reaction when we pour it in here. So I've turned down the temperature, turned it off for a bit, and now I'm going to put the liquid in. We're going to mix it around and then keep doing what we've been doing until all the water's absorbed and gets to a point where it's properly cooked. So protect
Cool.
yourself. Just keep, when you do this step, put a lid over just in case it boils over.
Explosion. Explosion of flavor. Looks good. Yum. So begins the
So we're going to
process of
make in porridge, standard, basically toasted porridge.
wonder if there's a risotto machine. It's something that does automatic stirring. Well, that looks like it's coming together. Yes. Nice. Nice. Smooth, even.
But we got another 10 minutes of this. So,
All righty. Well, let me I haven't even gotten to Ukraine yet.
oh, so Facebook, we were
Oh
on
yeah. Well,
Facebook.
in other words, things internal to Meta have been changed. A bunch of things. They've taken out a bunch of terminology. Um, on Facebook itself, I think you can insult people by calling them trannies now. That's legal
Mhm.
in the Facebook environment. So insulting various people is now kosher. So we're in a very strange moment, a moment I like to think that is the Trumpian. Trump is a lame duck, or as I refer to it, a disabled canard. Um, he's
A
just,
little PSA. I posted a article on how to delete your Facebook, just in case people are think there's
oh
also how
yes,
to get rid of Twitter as well. So perfect time to consider those options.
a good thing happened on the case of Daily Kos has made it possible to do full embeds of whatever they're called posts on Blue Sky.
Mm.
Some people call them bleats or some whatever it is. Um, but you can now take one of their uh, posts, they look like tweets, and you can embed them into your editing. So it made it a lot easier to do stuff or
So that's
faster.
just a standard link from Blue Sky will get exploded into the feed from Blue Sky with all the data.
Yeah, I hope so.
Mm.
That's that I hope they'll displace because they go automatically to Twitter and face or they provide a link to Twitter and Facebook, an
Mm.
automatic link so you can take your post of one kind or another and we call them diaries, um, and go directly to Facebook and Twitter or X. But now hopefully they're going to put in a Blue Sky link. So a lot of people have taken advantage of that. The one of the other folks who relied on using tweets is shifted over completely to Blue Sky postings or bleats or whatever the hell they're going to call them. So that's good in terms of Ukraine stuff. Let's see. Diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) programs are being killed off at a variety of places. All of the usual idiocy is being applied. Let's see. Jack Smith is presenting two parts of his reports, and I think it went to the Department of Justice, and one of them, part one, I think is going to be revealed. It's going to be made transparent, and there are just some facts in it that have really not been talked about a lot. So the fact that, and this is the one that affects Clarence Thomas's wife, Jenny, is that Trump campaign money was spent on supporting a variety of insurgents or insurrectionists to come and plan the January 6th stuff. I mean, there's just stuff there that is more directly connected to Trump's connection to January 6th. So that's another one. Let's see. I had a much longer list of stupid things.
Oh, in case anyone was wondering, Facebook is still following their mission, though, to to be open to everybody.
Yeah, sure. Steve Bannon um, uh, bragged that remember how close we were to pulling off January 6th, that is overthrowing the government. It's sort of weird to have him announce that, but he claimed that he went to jail for trying to overthrow the government. Now, in other places in the world, like Iran, if he did that, he would be in much bigger trouble. Apparently, we've discovered also, just to on the issue of social media, etc., Obama, during the 2008 campaign, Obama was instructed to not use the words labor union in any public announcement. And that would be interesting to check whether he clearly did that. That would be interesting. Somebody, and now to get into Ukraine for a second, the Ukrainians sort of said, I don't think they were thinking of what the implication was, but I decided that at the same time they were made this announcement, that I would show the MH17 shoot down that the Russians shot down or Russian supported whatevers in Donbass, shot down a Malaysian aircraft, a 787, I think, or 777 Boeing jet, killing a heck of a lot of people, several hundred people over Ukraine. So announcing that Trump could be the first leader to fly direct to Ukraine by plane is, I just thought that was just useful to contrast with the ability of Russians to shoot down planes. Because mostly if you're visiting Ukraine, if you're a dignitary, you fly to Poland first, and then you take the train from Poland to Kiev. Most of your travel is not done in Ukrainian airspace. Let's see. At the beginning of the week, Trump was whining about half-staff flags because of the death of Jimmy Carter, and he whined about it a lot. It's just so weird. I think a lot of people, he just annoyed more people in that context. I was whining. Speaking of whining, I was whining about that we need 14th Amendment Article 3 solutions. Because I was mocking people who call for Second Amendment solutions. The 14th Amendment, Article 3, is about, not allowing someone who's promoted insurrection to take the presidency. So that should, I still think that should happen. It'd be interesting to see a lawsuit, constitutional lawsuit moved in that direction. I'm not sure why people don't do that. All right, on to Ukraine. Another Russian oil tanker got loose, or the engine, stopped or something, and it was close to the in the German maritime area. So German tugs came out. If your engine goes out in an oil tanker, sort of, I think it's a single hull with 99,000 barrels or whatever of oil, it's a pretty dangerous thing. So it's continuing issues in the Baltic. The Finland is pulling over, literally, it is a traffic stop on the Baltic, Russian tankers. They're not flagged Russian tankers, but rather, they're Panamanian or Cook Islands or something else, but they're pulling them over and just making them a lot of trouble for oil tanker traffic in the Baltic. So that's kind of going on. There were glide bomb attacks, big drone attacks on both sides. Another big oil facility got hit. Excuse me. The one supporting the Ingalls Air Base, which is interesting for a variety of reasons, because at some moment, the Ukrainians are going to attack the Russian air base at the Engels Air Base. It's very deep, or moderately deep, a couple of 100 kilometers inside Russia. It's where the bombers that launched volleys of cruise missiles take off from. And I'm still waiting for the F-16s. They just announced that a couple of weeks ago, a Ukrainian pilot in an F-16 shot down 6 cruise missiles in a single, mission, which that's kind of cool when you consider, they don't really carry a lot of weaponry, so he used up all his weaponry and probably shot one down with his cannons. So it was kind of interesting to see that. Let's see. There's increased Ukrainian offensive operations in the Kursk Oblast, that little region of Russia that the Ukrainians made an incursion in. They've given up a little land, but then they decided they'd do, a couple days ago, a counteroffensive, and they sort of gained back some land. And it looks that is the direction they're headed, is towards the Kursk nuclear power plant. They're still pretty far away, half again as far away. But if they seize the Kursk nuclear power plant, I think the Russians will think a little bit more about trying to sue for peace. So that's kind of what's going on at that moment. There was mention this week of a Azov dolphins. It's a endangered species of dolphin, is under threat because there aren't very many of them. But the oil spill that occurred in the Kerch Strait, which is the strait between the Sea of Azov and the Black Sea, they lost at least two oil tankers during the last major storm. And so the oil spill from that has now affected Ukrainian coastline. So there's all this, you know, it's it's the Exxon Valdez. You lose the tanker, all this oil gets out there and starts killing crap. Birds are dying. And I don't think they're handling quite as well in terms of those things. And as I said, there is a species of dolphin that seems to be under threat in that particular way. Ukrainians launched a monster drone attack in Russia. There's a whole bunch of different places. There's not a complete reading of the of all the targets, but it's been pretty major. Let's see, and if America attacks Greenland, tries to seize Greenland, it's going to resemble essentially what Russia did to Ukraine. It's just, and I'm just curious whether the U.S. is going to declare it a special military operation. Actually, the U.S. jargon for that is called police actions, because Korea was a police action. In the beginning, the Vietnam War was a police action. So, and a number of Latin American, things, Panama, Guatemala, they're all police actions of one kind or another. So expect that coming up soon. Oh, yes. And finally, in terms of, since I think Joe's about ready here, Trump backed off from his 24-hour solution. That is that he would solve the Ukrainian crisis in 24 hours. Well, he's president and nothing happened. I mean, he declared that he would be able to solve it before he was inaugurated. Well, it hasn't happened yet, and the current position now is that it's going to take at least 6 months to achieve that point. So all that BS about he would be able to solve the Ukrainian war in 24 hours is just force talking. So that's probably the conclusion of my yammering about these things. Other things are going to happen tonight, and before we do that, Joe, if you want to talk about your stuff there, it
Sure.
settled quite nicely. It's not so much
Yes.
porridge like, but more like a mold of sorts.
Show you here. No, lighting is a bit.
Yeah,
Hold on.
there we go.
Steady, steady.
Yes.
So it gets aerated, and then if it'll continue to sit and then kind of swell. Excuse me, swell. I'll cut into one of these in a minute once I finish plating them. So I've got these little ice cream scoops. You could do little ice cream scoops and sprinkle of pistachio or whatever uh, cups, bowls, small things you have. You can do individual pieces or larger ones. Or a more traditional method is the couel. Oh, I'm terrible at doing these ones. With the spoons. Let's see.
Quinel's, right?
But now, there we go.
Nice.
Oh, it's been years since I've been in the kitchen, professional kitchens.
Think hopefully John is there, so he'll give us a preview of what we're going to look at tonight in Twilight Zone, which will occur in about a little over half an hour at the bottom of the hour.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, over there.
Uh, Joe, you don't have to. Okay.
Did I get one for everybody?
It, it looked like you were shaping it and well, anyway. Yeah, on the Twilight Zone tonight, we're watching an episode called Come Wander with Me. And it stars Gary Crosby, who is the son of Bing Crosby, and Bonnie Beecher, um, who later changed her name to um, Hera, Jerahana Romney. I believe that's how she pronounces the first name. Um, she was married she was a actress and a singer, and she was also married to Wavy Gravy, or Hugh Romney. So they are both in it, and it features a very, uh, I would say, beautiful song that is original to the episode, and it's been covered by professional musicians and many amateur musicians. You can see that on YouTube if you search for the name of the song. Um, and it's been in films such as Brown Bunny from 2003, and perhaps most recently, it was in the television series Baby Reindeer, which was a limited TV series. So it should be interesting.
Looking forward to it. Wavy Gravy is, of course, of the same generation that gave us Gypsy Boots. I think they're just some names of that era just stick with you.
Gypsy Boots. That's a
Uh,
clothing item, I assume.
well, he's just a character, kind of like Wavy Gravy. He had his own
Oh,
candy bar, I think, at one time. He used to be a regular on when Steve Allen had his late night TV show. So Gypsy Boots would be on there. I think Wavy Gravy was actually on the Steve Allen show. But anyway, that just shows how old we are.
Wavy Gravy started dressing as a clown so that cops wouldn't beat him up.
Yeah, there we go. See, I don't know many Wavy Gravy stories, but he was just of that era. Let's see, how are we doing?
All good. I'm all finished.
We all set?
So,
We're ready to let me leave you with a couple of things. The broligarchy is one of the most creative words of the year, and then there's some other English expressions that mewing, cooked, mog, into club we all fam, maxing. Let's see, raw dog. I think that's actually from an earlier era. And then there's yapping, which is what I do. So anyway, there's some new creative words of the year. With that, I think we're close to the end here. I will promise that we would try to do better next week. And I'm damn hungry now. Now that we're looking
yeah.
at
So this is a Turkish dessert called irmek halvesi, or semolina halva, semolina dessert, basically. And it's toasted semolina in oil with pine nuts, black currants, and dusted with pistachios. You can use milk and sugar or just milk and water. And you toast it for about 20 minutes until it's dry, and it's it's super simple and somewhat elegant. It's deceptively simple, I think. It really feels more elegant than it is, or it seems like it should be.
Harsh has a
Hmm.
question.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think there's an Indian variation of this. It's called halwa.
Mm.
It's the same thing basically. So
Yeah.
semolina, but toasted in ghee and
Mm-hmm.
same sugar and
Yep.
stuff. You
Yum.
should try it. So the only thing you have to do is have it with puri, like make a puri,
Mm-hmm.
the fried bread, and
The
also
fried bread.
kala chana as well. So have those three combinations.
Excellent. Yum.
Professor, I had a question
Oh, sure.
regarding the LA fire, right? There's a lot of blame game happening, kind of like. First of all, they're talking about the budget cuts for the fire department and all those kind of things.
Yes.
Do we know how it started actually initially? Is this like a regular phenomena or is this something?
Well, there's a whole, I mean, you could define it as this endless austerity thing, but in terms of cutting back programs and stuff, uh, if you look at Project 2025, there's a whole list of things that they just simply want to cut or kill. And Republicans have wanted to do that for ages, even before the New Deal. You know, they just don't like government spending that kind of money. They need that. They want that cash to spend on profit or whatever. They just as soon have no subsidies for healthcare at all, and so that there would be there would be total chaos. Let 100 insurance companies bloom. I don't know if that answers your question. I may not have quite answered it.
No, that's fine. It's like because I was more asking about like what was the Democratic rule, no Democratic Party in California doing essentially in terms
Oh,
of helping out folks and stuff.
well, Newsom has, I don't know much about what's going on there, but Newsom is trying to cover all kinds of stuff. There's, the emergency have been declared. There's, it appears as if there's a tremendous amount of support, and it's actually pretty well, the response is well organized, even though the fires are still going on, for example. And what we're going to see, I think, is a move that we sort of saw, but then it got actually thwarted by Newsom himself in terms of health insurance, because he weighs in on the corporate side, whereas if he moved more towards a Hawaii type solution, that would be probably better for the state ultimately, even though, it requires a massive state bureaucracy. But the fact is, if it's the sixth biggest economy in the world, it's going to need a bigger bureaucracy than it currently has anyway. But that's just me. I think there are a lot of stupid California regulations, though. California is rife with stupid regulations. So I don't mean to sound like a Republican, but there's a tendency to not pay attention to policy implementation, and in fact, there's a lot of waste that goes on in terms of certain fiscal stuff, and there's some things that they don't, that need to be sort of reined in. Let's put it that way, because I've seen in my little experience in California, seen some violations of that kind of behavior that is problematic. So I wouldn't call them sort of malfeasance or anything, but let's just say that there's shady applications of public funds in a variety of stupid ways, and you can see that operative. Let's say they're attacking Karen Bass for being somewhere else and not in California, but that's sort of trivial and stupid. But during this fire thing, and also that the fire thing is actually, pretty normal relative to a climate crisis, not to normalize climate crisis, but there's just stuff that needs to be done. So that's kind of my last little comment on that, I guess. Thanks, Raj. Well, go ahead.
Yeah. Do you think him positioning as the next like candidate for president, it's done, or is this still? Do you think our folks?
No, I think more things will happen since he's sort of a lame duck. He's still got, a couple of years of being governor. So I think a lot of things will come into place. And if Kamala Harris decides to be the leading candidate to take over as governor, that will be interesting by the time we get to 2026. And I frankly don't think she'll run for president again. Simply because I think we've seen what the problem is. And I hope it, with all due respect, I think she would make a decent governor of California, but I think that there are probably people even more progressive who would be better. But they're not going to win in a state that is as complex as California. So,
Thanks, Professor.
all right.
And on that note,
We'll try and do better next week. Bye.
yo. Bye.